Hello, welcome back to Build a Portfolio with Django, Part 2. This Part 2 is about the models and the admin. Let's start with the models. So, I've left this link in the description so you can go and read more. But basically, the models is where you define the type of data that you're going to be saving to your database. So, as seen in this documentation, you have the definition of the models, which I'm not going to read, but you can clearly see on the screen. So an example is shown here, which is a class person which inherits from the models. And this class person has two fields, the first name and the last name. So basically a model is like a model represents a table in a database, and here the models are often classes. So for example, if you have a class called person that inherits from models, that implies when we are going to be creating the database, Django is going to create a table in a database called person with these different fields. So the first field is going to be first name, and that will be a character field with max length 30. And secondly, we are going to have another field called last name, also that is a character field. And as you can see here, Django is going to handle all these SQLite commands for you. So this is what Django is going to run in the background. So it's going to create a table called field like person. This my app is just maybe going to be a reference to the app that is having the person. So for example, remember I created an app in the previous video, and so when we are Django is going, like I said, Django is going to handle the creation of this table for you, so you don't need to know SQL table SQL language, like the SQL language. So this is what Django is going to run. It's going to create a table with the reference to the app that is having that models or that table, and the name of the table is person. So it's going to be my app person, and by default it's going to have an ID, which is going to be the primary key. Then this is it. We have the first name and the last name with the varchar 30, and this is what this code is going to generate this SQL command. Like I said, you don't need to know this code, and basically what you have to do is you have to read through this, and then from the type of application you want to build, you sort out the type of data you want to save. For example, here you're going to have examples where they're going to be showing you how to create your different models and the different types. Like for example, here we're still using character fields, but now here they introduce something which is a foreign key, which I'm going to explain as we move forward, and all these other options. So if you go through, once you want to build something with Django, you have to go through the models and see the different fields you can define, and depending on your application and what you want to build, you're going to now have a choice of different fields you're going to describe in your models. So let's dive into our application. So this is where we left, this is where we stopped in the last tutorial. So this is my app called John, and this is my portfolio website with the settings.py and the urls.py. So in my app called John, I'm going to open the models file. This is where I'm going to create all of my models as defined by the front end. So basically this is what we are building. When we come to this front end, what we want to do is, like for example, at the start this front end is static. So what we want to do now is we want to add a backend to this front end, and that backend is going to make this website dynamic. For example, here when we come to the home section, we have the name here, which is James Maron. We have hi there, this greeting text, and we have a picture. So these are the type of things that we're going to consider while creating our models. So let me go ahead and create the models. I am going to copy it and paste that. As you can see, I've gone ahead and created a model. So let's start with the home section. In the home section, which is here, we have the name, we have a greeting, and we have a picture. So as you can see in my model, I have a name, I have the greeting one, which is going to be the top character, maybe hi, and then we have greeting 2 is going to be something like there. Then now we have picture, which is the picture in the front end. So basically we install Pillow because Django needs Pillow to work with images, and Models home is going to create a table called home in a database with name, greetings, picture, which are character fields in max length as defined here. So the picture is an image field which is going to be uploaded in a folder called picture. We are going to see that as we move forward. Now we have the updated field, which is a date time field. Each time this field, like this table, any value here is being modified, it's going to save the time it was modified, and we are going to use that when we want to update the website or the front end. This part I'm going to be showing this part in a few moments, so it's not for now. I'm going to show, like, this is string method. So well, let me just keep that. I'm going to show you what it does. The home section, like the about section, sorry, now we are in the about section, and if I go here, the about section, I have an intro text like my profession, then now I have a description and links to it, then now a picture here. So that's also going to reflect my model. So yeah, firstly I have a class called about, which is going to be a table in a database. So the heading is obviously a character field. I just chose to be max length 50. Same like my career is going to be a character field. Then now description is going to be that text, and then the profile image is going to be the image to the left, which is going to be uploaded to the profile folder. Then now I still have another field called updated, which is going to save the time at which this model is being defined. When each time this model is being modified, is going to save that time. Then I still have a string method here. If you're used to Python, a string method is just what is going to be returned when you try to print out this class or an element of the class. I'm going to show you that after. Like, I'm going to clearly show you what happens when you have this and when you don't have this. For example, like right now it's not really necessary, but I'm going to show you what it does. Then now I have the overall profile, which is a more like, first of all, our profile should have an about. So if you come to this website, this is our profile section. So our profile section has an about. Like, those names are just generic names that I chose. So in this our profile section, I want to have several links. So these links are going to be in a profile section. So that's why here about is a models with a foreign key to this table, which is called about. This means that each of our profile has one of about. Then now it can have several social links and their names as shown here. We can have one section, like we can have one about that describes the person. Then now here we have several links. The link should have like a name and the link to where it's pointing to. So in my models now, I have created firstly a field called about that has a foreign key relationship to this table. This means that this profile is going to have one about, and also is going to have a social name, like is going to have a link, and that link is going to be defined with the social name, which is a character field, and the link. So for example, the social name will be Facebook, and then after that we're going to have the link to your Facebook profile. So now we have the class category. As you can see here, each category has a title. Then now, each skill has a category. Then now the different skills you have under it. So I created a model called category, which is going to hold that title, maybe mobile development. It has the name, which is a character field. Then updated, which is similar to the other previously updated fields. Then we have the table now, or the models called skills. What this model does is it grabs one, like it has a foreign key to the field to the table category or the model category. That means each skill should have one category and the skill name as defined here. Here we have the category, and here we have Java. So Java is going to be it belongs to mobile development. So creating a foreign key is just a way of me linking Java to mobile development, Kotlin to mobile development. in such a way that once I'm going to be outputting the information on the website, I can output Java under mobile development so that they can have that link. So if the name here is going to be Java is going to have a category which is going to be mobile development, and so I can output now Java here under mobile development. And lastly, I have the portfolio section. If you scroll down to the portfolio, you're going to see the portfolio has an image and a link. So image and a link, image and a link. So this is a model I created. In the portfolio section, I have the image, which is an image field that is going to be uploaded to a folder called portfolio. Then now it has the link, which is a real URL field, and we have a string method that is going to define what is going to be printed once we ask print this class. So that's basically my models. I've defined all the data as per my requirement. So when creating a website, when adding the backend, you don't just go ahead and create your models like without knowing what you're building. For example, we already have this front end and we know that, okay, we want to make this page dynamic, so we go ahead and create relevant data that is going to make this content dynamic in such a way that we can store and modify and keep on moving or updating the information. As you saw me, I had the home section that defines the data here. I have the about section that defines the data here. I have the skill section that defines the data here. Brief, like just a summary. I have Java that has a foreign key relationship to mobile development in such a way that each time I want to output Java, I know that I'm going to be outputting Java where it's going to have a link to the mobile development. Then I have finally the portfolio that has an image and a link. With that said, I have finished with defining my models, and now we can move forward. So let me take a look at my notes. If I come here, all right, so create models and apply migration. So let me open the terminal. I'm launching the terminal. So Python manage.py make migration. What make migration does is it looks for the changes that have been done in the models.py file and prepare them for migration, or prepare those changes to be made to the database. So the first step when we want to create a database, or when we want to apply changes to a database, we have to make migration. So Django is going to look for all the changes that have been made in any models file of any app. Once that have been done, we now migrate. That means it's going to go ahead and create all the tables defined in the models.py file. So after the Python manage.py migrate command is run, it's going to create a table called home with a name with fields including name, greetings 1, greetings 2, picture, and updated, and that's it. But well, let's just move forward. I'm going to show you what happens as we move on. So for Django to be able to know that there is a change in your application, you have to register that app. For example, I created the app called John, and here is the app here. So let me just wipe this out and let's see what happens. So I've wiped that, and I'm going to let me go to my notes. Notes, and here I'm going to apply now migrations. I copy that. Remember, my virtual environment has been activated. VS Code has done that automatically for me, but if you don't remember how to, well, let's just go ahead and activate a virtual environment. To deactivate your virtual environment, you use the keyword deactivate. And as you can see, I'm not still in my virtual environment. So what we want to do is we always want to work in a virtual environment, so it's going to keep our Python packages for this project separate from all the other projects. So here I'm going to activate my virtual environment with this command. For more details, you can check the previous video or part 1. So now my virtual environment has been activated, and now I'm going to go ahead and make migration. But remember, I have removed the app here, so I just want you people to see what's going to happen when that is removed. So I copy this, then I paste, then I press enter. Okay, as you can see, there were no changes detected. Why? Because Django doesn't know the existence of this app called John. So now I'm going to go ahead and register my app called John. Remember we did this in the previous video. So I just wanted to show you what happens. The make migration actually looks for changes that have been made in your Django project. So I register this app. Now I run again the command make migration. So as you can see, it has looked for the changes that have been made, and Django detected that there's an app called John in which the models.py file has been modified. And as you can see, create model about, create model category, create model home. All these models are going to be tables in our database. So now it's ready now to create those tables, and now I'm just going to migrate, which is actually going to create all those tables in a database. As you can see, all the tables have been created in a database. So now I'm going to clear this and we proceed. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and create a super user. A super user is simply someone that can modify the project, or like an administrator of the application. So this command permits us to create a super user. So I'm going to press enter, and my super user, I'm just going to put admin. I'm going to leave that blank, then admin for the password. You can go ahead and create a very strong password, but just for simplicity I'm going to use this. So now as you can see, I've created a super user. So what I'm going to do now next is I'm going to run the server. Python manage.py run server. Once my server is running, I'm going to go to my browser and open port 8000. So this is a page we previously had, which showed that a Django project has been set up and is up and running. So now what we are going to do now is we are going to go to the admin interface. This admin interface is one of my Django's favorite features, as it comes with this interface in which you can already start working and manipulating your data online. So my username is admin, password is password. As you can see, I have all basically it comes already with users that have been created, and if you check where we have the admin, which is a user I just created, and the user is active, is a staff, and is super user. Staffs are those people who can log into this interface. So this is one of Django's cool features, meaning you already have a ready to use admin interface. So now that's what we are going to do now is we are going to actually talk about adding a data. Like, remember, we have created a database with these tables. So now what we want to do now is we want to add or modify data from the admin interface, and that's pretty easy to do. So let's just first of all take a look here. In the link description, you can find the Django admin documentation, like intro to the Django admin on the documentation. So now if you read through here, you can have more details about the Django admin and how to add your models to the admin interface. So after reading this, I went ahead and created the admin interface. As you can see here, you can see the different options that the admin interface offers to you. But let me go ahead and copy what I created. So I'm going to open, I'm still in my app called John. I'm going to my admin, and here you can see it's empty. So I'll just go ahead and copy and paste. Alright, what you want to do is you want to first of all import all the models you have created. In my models, I've created home, about, profile, category, skills. So all the models I want to create, all the models we want to register on the admin interface, I will have to import them. So from dot models, remember when you use the dot, you're referencing a file in the same directory. So from dot, I have a file called models. Inside that file, I have classes called home, about, profile, category, skills, and portfolio. And now for you to register the home, basically you just use admin.site.register home. That's going to add the home to the Django admin interface. Similarly, we have class, profile, inline. I'm going to explain this in a moment, but basically, as you can see, the portfolio, it's simple. You can just do admin site.register portfolio or any other model. So let's take a look at it. So I'm going to refresh that. As you can see, I already have those sections. If I come to home, I have nothing there, but this interface now permits you to create things about, like, to add data to your database. For example, if I have a name here, for example, there, then I have these greetings, and also I can also choose an image. And there, let me go to my desktop, and there we go. I've saved a new profile. Like, this data now is going to be used now to display the information on the home page or the home section. And that was quite easy. You see that these sections now, you can just create, and you can start creating and saving data to your database. So now in the future video, what we are going to be doing is we're going to get this data and output it to the templates. So now let me explain this other model. If we come now to about, and we want to create about, remember when I was explaining that about, a profile has one about in such a way that in the profile, I'm going to have the heading, the career, the category, the image now. Then after the image now, I can have several social links. For example, if I have a link called Facebook, I will have to put that link here. I can add another field called maybe Instagram. Then I am going to put the link to my Instagram. Then I can save. Oh, okay, needed this and this. I needed this. So as you can see, I did not choose fields. I did not add the data, so it had to tell me I have not added. So as you can see, I've created the data, and I've already created an about section. So the about consists of the profiles, which we can add different profiles. So let me go ahead and explain what's happening here. In the about, I have a class called profile inline. This, it's inheriting from admin tabular inline. It's just saying that I'm going to place the about in line with this. It just means that the about section is going to place in line with the profile section. So if you come here, I have my about, which spreads in line with the profile section. If you go to the Django admin site documentation, like if you go on the documentation and read more on the admin, you're going to see the different ways of adding your admin, your different models to the admin site. So this was the best way for me, because I want to create one about, and that about is going to be linked to each profile. Similarly for skills, that's what is happening. I have to give the name of the skills, maybe mobile development. If I say mobile development, each mobile development has to have now a skill name. So for example, I have Java, I have Kotlin, and now I can save in such a way that when I'm about to display the information of each, like each skill has a category which is going to be maybe mobile development, and after now I display mobile development, I want to display all the skills that are referenced by that mobile, like that are saved under mobile development. So it's a similar way I define. So I have a class called profile inline, which inherits from the admin.tabular inline. This is a class that permits us to define that, okay, it's going to be in line with the about part or the about model. So the model now is just saying what data is going to be here. So I'm defining the data that is going to be profile, and the extra is just going to give me the extra field. So let's go to about. Let me show you that. I think so in about, once you come here to about, you have one about now. That about now will have this profile in line with it, and you can see this extra now. This extra field is just what gives this extra this thing. This extra, it just gives an extra field, sorry. So if I come here, then I change this to 4. You see, you wait for the server to reload. Then after the server has reload and I refresh this page, you're going to see now that I have 4. So it just gives an extra field to an extra field. So I'm going to put 1. And similar thing in skills, I have a class called skills inline that inherits from admin tabular inline. This is just going to display this in line with the model called category. So I have the model called category, which is going to maybe save the data called let's say mobile development, and then now it's going to have these skills now in line with the skills inline, and this skills inline has the model called skills and then has extra field called 2. Oh, extra fields equals to 2, sorry. So if I come to my admin interface and I come to skills, I have that. I have the name, which is a category from the category. Then now I have now the skills with an extra field, with extra 2 fields. So that's basically it. We have added our models to the admin, and this is also a basic way of the simplest way of adding to the admin.site.register. You register your model to the admin, and it's just going to be like this. I could do the same thing with the about, the category, and the skills, but it's just that I just wanted a way that I will modify I'm going to modify the category of that skill and the skills at the same time. And similarly for the about, I wanted to way in such a way, I wanted to modify the about section and the different profiles on the same page, rather than, for example, if you see home here, home has just its section. So when you put admin.site.register, it just register the models like without any configuration. So those profiles in line were just my own way of making it look better on the admin interface. Like I said, you can always reference from the documentation and read through and see how to define different fields and add them to your model, to your admin interface. It's very interesting. So with that said, I have created my models and I have added it to the admin interface. And as you can see, now I can move forward and create different models and add them to the database. So let's go now to this place. All right, if you remember well, in our models we have that this data is going to be saved to a folder called portfolio. I added an image, and as you can see, I instead added a home section, and that home section I defined that the picture is going to be saved in a folder picture. So what has happened is it has created a folder called picture and saved it, but this is not what we want. We want to define a folder where Django is going to be displaying that picture. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my notes. So in my notes, I was supposed to define the string method. Let me just demonstrate what the string methods actually do. If you see here, this is my category, and I have the string method that returns the name of this class once we want to create the class. So if you come here, I have home, and here you see I have the name of this home is called tenant2, so that's why it's printing that. If I get rid of that, if I delete this, wait for the server to reload, you're going to see that Django or Python is just going to output that as home object 1, which actually doesn't make a lot of sense, but it doesn't know what it's doing. So it's just programmed to do what you define or what you asked to do. So once you put the string method, that means Django will know what to display once you're trying to print this field or this class. So let's move forward now. What we want to do now is we want to configure the static files, like where the pictures or where different static files are going to be saved in a project. Static files are just files that doesn't change as the project move along or once the project is running. So with that said, I'm going to copy this, and we define our static files in we define where we are going to save our static files in the settings.py. So in the settings.py, I'm just going to paste this. Alright, so the static URL and the media URL just defines the URL that Django is going to use once you're trying to display that website, or when you're trying to display an image from your data or from your website. I'm going to show you as we move along once we have finished setting up this. The media root also defines where the data, like all the media and the static files, are going to be stored. Sorry. And then now the static file directory, base directory is like the directory where a Django project is, and then what's defined in the folder called static, where Django is going to output all, like save all the static. So remember, we have this part called picture. Let me go ahead and delete it. If I delete that, then now I go now to my admin interface and say add another admin. Oh, sorry, I think the server is reloading. Let's see. Oh, sorry. All right, I have an error. Okay. Yeah, it's saying OS is not defined. So what this does, the OS is a Python function that actually looks for the part of the operating system, the part at which we are. So we have to import that. Let's just say import OS. After that is done, our server should be able to run now. So just like I said, this media URL is going to be used to form the URLs of each static file we're trying to output from our website, and then this media root just defines where the data or the static and the media files are going to be saved to once maybe we're trying to collect all the statics of the project. And then now we have the static files directory where all our static files are going to be defined. So base directory here is something that is defined up here at the top. As you can see, base directory is just where a Django project has been saved. So if we are at where a Django project has been saved, then now we create a new folder called static, where all the static files are going to be saved. As you can see, now there's no static. Let's go ahead and add now an object to the home section. So let's choose a file, and here we go. Save that. Then come now here. If you come now to your your Django project folder, you're going to see that Django has created a folder called media root, where it has saved created a folder called media root. That folder called media root is where it's going to save all the media files of our project. Then now remember, now in our models files, we told Django to save that in a picture folder, so in a folder called picture. So now in the media root, we have a folder called picture where Django has saved that image, the image we just uploaded, this. So that's where Django has saved it. So now that's basically it. Remember that Django was first of all creating a picture, a folder called picture here in the base directory here. So this is just a way of cleaning up things and making sure that we have a folder that has all our media folders. So that's basically it. Then now what we want to do now is, for example, if you come to your admin interface and then you click here, you're going to see that Django is not actually going to be able to output that image. We are going to correct that in an instance, but now just look at what is happening. We have our base URL, then now we have media/picture/advert 2.8, like the name of the image. So if you come to your Django settings, like I mentioned earlier, each time you call for a media, Django is going to use this value and append to a base URL, then plus the name of that media to form the URL. As you can see, we have media here, which has been added. Then now inside the media folder, now remember we have a folder called picture, and after picture now we have advert. So Django has used that to form the URL to the image. If we change this to, let's say, link, let's say just that, then you reload. Let me just go back. Yeah, after that I go here. As you can see, the value that was here is not still media, it has been changed to something else. So that's why I said the media URL and the static URL are used to form the URLs of each file once you're trying to access that file from your web browser. The media root saves all the media files. The static root states all the static files, and the media URL and the static URL are used for forming the URLs. But now in development mode, Django is not able to display that image. If you come here, you see that Django is not, wait, I did not refresh that. Okay, refresh that. This is supposed to be media. All right, as you can see, Django is not able to display that image, but that's normal. That's just normal for now because Django doesn't know how to serve that image in development mode. So for you to be able to serve that object or those images and media files in development, we have to add these settings to our urls.py, which is going to tell Django where to find those images. So if you come now to your urls.py, you paste this in. So after putting these settings is going to tell Django where to find a media file. So but now you can see that we have an error. This is because we have not imported settings. So now we import settings and then we import statics, because here settings is being used here and static is being used here. So what this tells Django where to find the media files and how to form the URL. So where to find the media files, Django is going to find the media files in a document root where Django is going to find the media files, like is defined here in this variable called document root, which is in settings.media.root. That means Django is going to come to our settings and then look for media root. Okay, this is where media root is saying that it's in a folder, that all our media files are in a folder called media root. So once Django knows that, it's going to come now to this folder to look for this image. Once it has looked for that image, it's going to now form the URL using the settings.media URL. So it's going to now come to this settings.media URL and say, okay, for me to form the link, I have to use media/media/media. Sorry, it has to use this string value to form the URL. So now Django knows how, like, where to find the media files or all the media files, and where and how to form the URLs of those media files. So after adding these settings, if you come now to your admin interface and refresh, then you click here, you see that Django now is able to display this image. See, it's the same URL, but now Django actually knows where to find the image and how to form the URL. Django basically just knew how to form the URL, but now it knows where to find the image and how to form the URL. So that's why Django is able to display this image now. So with that said, we have gone through the basics of the models.py file and the admin website provided by Django. So as you can see now, you have an admin site where you can load information of the home page of that website and the about, the portfolio, or the skills. So now, depending on your website, you can now define the data accordingly, or like use the web, like when you have a front end and you want to make that front end dynamic, you have to go into the front end and then look the different data or fields that you need or that you want to make dynamic. Once you have done that, you come now and create your models reflecting those fields in such a way that now in your admin interface you can actually add data and modify, or you can actually add a field, modify the field each time you want to modify it. And that's basically it. So now in the next step, we are going to be looking at the views and the template. Remember that the views is where we define all the functions or the logic that involves in getting a data from the database and outputting it to the template. So once we have saved this data to the database, Now in our views, what we are going to do is we are going to collect the data from the database and then send it to a template folder. So that'll be in part 3, where we're going to talk about the views and the templates. With that said, thank you for watching and have a nice day.